Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dice Matrix. I got my hat turned sideways on because I don't have a forward light right now. It's just coming down on top of me. Sorry I haven't made a video in a while, but I'm back. And this one is more of what I would call an unpleasant list. I got my list here with me, and I'm going to talk about the top 10 games, or specifically probably related to game mechanics or things in games that I don't like, and then I'll relate them to some games. Now, doesn't mean I don't like the games that have those mechanics fully, but on whole, I found that I don't really like those devices or games that perpetuate these type of either mechanisms or whatever. So let's just get right down to it with number one. All right, or excuse me, number 10. I can't count. All right, so my number 10 most hated game or annoying thing in games is early player elimination. And this just drives me crazy. So if it's early or mid game, I understand some games late game. Like, I'm okay, if you're going to play like a classic game like Risk, which, it's kind of outlived it for me, but, I don't mind like Risk Legacy. But part of that game is player elimination. But usually you have time to build up, trying to make some moves. And even if you are the first eliminated, usually it's a good while in the game before something like that happens. But there's some games I've played where you get knocked out almost immediately, or you have to wait a while, or you get knocked out, mid game, and you're still waiting for a while, and it's just really no fun because you feel like you just got to go sit in the corner or whatnot, and you're like, okay, I'll just go play with my phone. So anyway, that's my number 10. I do not like the feeling that I get when I'm knocked out of a game early, and yeah, probably that was my own fault, but still, whatever. I don't like that mechanic. All right, number 9. This one, I'm going to get a flack on a lot of these because this is going to touch base with a lot of people. But this one is everyone takes the same action. Everybody gets to take the same action, or the follow mechanic that's in a lot of games, which, it's an okay mechanic, I guess, but I don't like it. It just doesn't. Most games that I've played with this, and there are exceptions, but most games I haven't liked, and specifically because of this. Everybody gets to do the same thing. This includes games like Space Base and most recently Reavers and Midgard. And the Reavers is real interesting because, I thought I would like it because I do like the Carpill games and the designer, and I like the Viking theme, but they're just, there was many reasons why I didn't like that particular game, but one of the reasons is that there wasn't that great of an advantage, in my opinion, to taking a spot that outdid it, but because everybody still got to do, and so long as you do the same action, and as long as you were, the first couple, then you were fine. And even if not, you still got to do the ability. I mean, yeah, sure, it might have been slightly better, but I just feel like you're not separating yourself when everybody gets to take the same action. And this is kind of a Euro concept. And don't get me wrong, I love Ameritrash, but I also love Euro games. But this is one of the Euro concepts that I don't like always. It's just kind of built in, don't fall behind mechanic instead of a catch-up mechanic. And I'm not necessarily always in favor of that. And, that's how they balance their game, and that's fine. But it's just not for me. I don't care for that. Everybody takes the same action most of the time. All right, my number 8 thing that I don't like usually is one versus all games. And a couple I've listed here, and I'll explain what it is, but this is a caveat, is usually if I'm the all, so like, I played Jaws and Fury of Dracula. The Jaws game was pretty decent, but I don't think I'd like that either way, probably, but I did play Fury of Dracula, and I only like that game if I'm Dracula, because I feel like that's the only fun part of the game. Now, other people might like if they've never played it before, or maybe that's for them. But for most part, I feel like I'm just kind of like, okay, you take your 2-3 actions, and then you just kind of wait for what Dracula does. Yeah, you're trying to figure out where he is, and there's a big concept. But when you're Dracula, it's like there's so much more fun. You get to plot out all these things. And so I understand when people are like, well, then you should just be Dracula in those games, but not every game's like that. In Jaws, I wouldn't like being the shark. And I don't think, well, I did play the other way, and I didn't like being one of the team members either. It was okay. I mean, I had fun because the group was fun, but the game itself, I could care less. I didn't think it was a good game at all. But this is one, there's always exceptions to the rules, but for the most part, one versus all, not a big fan of. My number 7 most hated game type is antiquated family games, and this will probably be on any modern gamers list, but it's your old family games that have been outdated, like your Parcheesies, your Sorries, your Monopolies. I mean, that's fine for people who enjoy those, but for me, that ship has sailed a long time ago, and I'm not planning on coming back. I'm not saying I would never play it again, just because maybe for me, sometimes if I play a game, it's not about the game, it's about the interaction. But most time when I'm playing a game, it's about playing the game, and then it's, good if I also have the company and interaction that I want. That's a bonus, But for me, yeah, those games have long gone. So number 7 was antiquated family or old family games that were probably mostly built for, intellectual children for most of those. And then they, just kind of ramped it up. Of course, back in the day, that's, Monopoly was like, ooh, mind blower, right? I mean, was it like 100 years ago or something? All right. My number 6 is games with screens. The little partitions you put up so you're hiding your stuff from the other players. I don't know. I'm not always the most, some of the secret information. Like, I don't mind having a card in a game, but there is an exception for the rule for me, which is Rising Sun. And I'm about to play Dune, the new one. And if it plays anything like Rex, I'll like it. Although Rex doesn't use screens, but Dune does. But I think I'm going to be okay with that one too. But for the most part, games with screens have no appeal for me, because I feel like, I'm just trying to keep all this stuff secret. Now, I would rather have games that have the tiles that, you get tiles and you draw cards and they go face down. You just keep it that way. There's usually get in my way, and most tables can't hide them from anybody anyway, because I'm not playing with, midgets or whatever. People get up sometimes, get a drink or do whatever, and they don't mean to, but sometimes, they might look behind your screen. And obviously, you should cover it if you need to. But for the most part, games with screens, I don't like them. All right, my number 5 most hated game or game ability mechanic is the trader mechanic. Yeah, and some examples of these is Betrayal on the House Hill and Dead of Winter, which has a partial betrayal mechanic. Well, yeah, I guess it could be full, because there's not sure if they're. But here's the thing, I don't necessarily not like those games. Like, I enjoy Betrayal for the experience of sitting around and telling a story, and then using the minor stuff to explore the house and do that, because I feel like, that's fun. I'm figuring out these things. I just wish that in Betrayal I had like an autopilot where someone, instead of someone having to get up and be the traitor, like, because in that game I don't like to be the traitor. I just would rather be part of it. I would rather all of us. This is my one versus all, but I want the all, if I'm going to be a part of the all, I want the one to be like a computer or something. But yeah, I just, that in Dead of Winter, I don't like traitor mechanics in general. Like, that person's been a traitor the whole time. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes it puts too much pressure on the person that wants to be a traitor. I could take it or leave it. I don't necessarily mind being the traitor, but I don't really care about the traitor mechanic. It just, I find it uninteresting and dull, but some people just love it. And good for you if you do, but not for this guy. All right, my number 4, and in the modern era of Euros and stuff, people are real big on these, and it is way up on my hate list here, Rollin Write games. Where the concept is you roll a bunch of dice, or you lay out a bunch of cards, or you determine basically like group information. Everybody's got their own little map or island or scorecard, and they're assigning those numbers or values or images, icons to specifically how they want to on their piece of paper. And in that game, there's very little interaction. I mean, basically it's a solo game, and you don't need anybody else there. So I don't really get it, because they don't seem fun to me, and I've only tried one, okay? But every time I've done many watches of games and playthroughs, and I keep going, what is the appeal here? I just don't get it. So for some people, that's what they like to, because I have a friend that he loves games that you just basically can just sit in your little shell and do your little thing and try to score it out. But to me, I'm like, well, you might as well just do a Sudoku or something. I mean, honestly, right? does it really matter that you're comparing your score to other people around? Well, if it's that important, then compare it to, you know, online versus a million people and see how well you do. Then you'll see how really good you are. But to me, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm really doing that with anybody. You know, I mean, it's not even the fact that I'm not interacting with them, but I'm just like, I don't think it's necessary. Rollin Write, just, I mean, it's a snoozer to me. It's like, I'm going to sleep. All right. Number 3, most hated game type is Kluger Games, and specifically on these would be stuff like Mysterium and Code Names. Probably more Mysterium. Code Names, I mean, it's a party game. It's okay. I'll recommend these games for certain people that like that type, but I usually don't like it where someone's, you know, having to give the clues, especially Mysterium, where that person is like specifically just a clue giver, and I guess there's sort of a way for them to win, but it's like, to me, is it really fun? Like, we made a connection, we didn't. I don't know. I just, you know, I mean, to me, that's just like playing charades, I guess. And I don't know. That's just, I just can't get into that, man. It's just the clue giver is just, I keep trying to process it, and I'm just like, I played several of these games, several clue giver games, and I just don't like them. So yeah, it's definitely hype on my hate list. But let's jump up to number 2. So we're down to the last 2 here. I know I've been flying through this list. Probably, if you disagree with me, you're probably just hating on me, and that's fine, because I'm sure there's plenty of mechanics that you dislike that I love in games. And not necessarily, there's some games I do like games with screens. There are some games that I do like with screens, but for the most part, I don't like that at all. Okay, so number 2 is games that I consider just an activity. Because some games, and actually the Rollin Write probably follows under this, but there are more than just the Rollin Write games that are just feel like an activity to me. I had to look at my example because I couldn't remember. Container is one of these games, and a lot of the Euros will be like, "What? Container? This is a economic system." But look, if you're an American player and you haven't been totally, you know, like you've took the best of the Euro, but you haven't been blindsided by all, you know, the infiltration of the thoughts of the Euro. Container is a game where there's an economic system and everybody has these boards and you have these ships and and it looks really cool. It's one of the best looking games. I've played this game like 6 times just trying to figure out why I don't like it. and it finally dawned on me, it's like, because it's not really a game, it's an activity. And I'll tell you why. Now people say, well, there's a strategy, but here's the thing. A game that you can intentionally crash easily, you know, if you're in this game, you're trying to sell stuff, right? You're trying to manufacture stuff, you're trying to sell it. When you get it to your little island out there, and I hate to be just using containers, but this is like one of the perfect examples that this game is just an activity. So it looks cool. You're just moving stuff around, moving numbers, picking this up. I got a few coins. Okay, so when it comes down to like the game, you're trying to, you know, sell these different colored trailers, you know, of stock on an island, and you're trying to get them to bid. So everybody like bids secretly. But the thing is, people are cheap, especially when you play with American gamers. They don't want to bid anything that's worth anything, because think about it. It's like, do you want to pay for something? What's the object in games? To get the most out of using the least, right? You want to use as least amount of resources in any game that you play to obtain a goal. Like, oh, I want to, like, let's say you have to play, you know, you have to use 3 of your actions to move here, but if you could get there with only using 1 action, you would only use 1, right? So someone might win your bid with just bidding a miserly 2, right? And if you accept it, you get, I think, 2, and then you might get that 2 again from like the economy if you let it go through. So basically, you're just getting 4 coins. Or you can look and go, man, I had 7 trailers on that thing, and I'm like, I'm going to let 7 trailers, because those 7 trailers, those 2 extra coins I'm going to get, versus if I just go ahead, I can go ahead and pay the highest bid and get those trailers for myself. And I'm like, I get all these things, and those are going to score points for me, you know, way more than the 2 little coins are going to get me in the end. You know, it really is a big deal. So basically, you have to have everyone in the right mindset to play this, that you're just going to let things happen, and you hope that the economy rolls well, and you hope that, and you're just kind of like just existing. And to me, it's an activity. It's not a game. Sorry I went so long on Container on that. And it is interesting, but it's just an activity. There's no real game there. It just like exists. You know, I would say play it just for the experience, you know, to see what you think, you know, but act like you didn't hear anything I said and just play like you normally would as a gamer, instead of just letting things go, you know, watching these people get all these points where you're getting 2 miserly coins on the game. Okay. All right. My number one most hated ability or type of game is social deduction. I dislike this above anything. I've played the Resistance. The One Night at Werewolf. All these type of games. I just don't like. When you're trying to deduce someone's identity, and it's more like usually these games are set in a party setting, and this guy was the elf and that was the barbarian, and like, woo, I'm like, I don't know. I just think it's boring, just boring to me. And this isn't a slight on anybody else. It's just that I will probably not play that game with you. I mean, unless I actually have nothing else to do, or if I'm just in the right mindset and go, I'm doing an activity, which is my number two most hated. But yeah, social deduction games, never have liked them, and I can't think of anything that would make me like them. All right. If you get a chance, leave in the comment below games. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm an idiot, because I get that normally in life anyway. And tell me what games or game mechanics or specific games that you don't like. All right. Thank you, as always, for watching the Dice Matrix and listening to my negative list. The first real, I think, negative list I made. Maybe a second one. I don't know. Until next time, my friends, keep the dice rolling.